missing someone.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title, today I'm going to be updating you guys on what life has been like after college. But first, I want to thank all of my subscribers. Yesterday I reached 100 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. It really does mean a lot to me because it means that people are watching my content, and it's been a year since I started doing YouTube, so it may not seem like a lot, but I'm definitely very thankful. So let's continue with the video. So first I want to backtrack a little bit so that my story makes sense of where I'm at now after college. But right before I ended up graduating, around April or so, I was working a full-time job at a garden center. I love plants. If you know me, I love plants, so this was like a dream. I loved it, but obviously it had nothing to do with my field, so it was more like a job where it's like a hobby. Anyway, I enjoyed working here, and I was working full-time and going to school full-time. So meanwhile I was working, I was also freelancing as an independent contractor with South Florida PBS Channel 2. And this was a great opportunity because, as you guys know, I did intern with South Florida PBS. So the fact that they moved me up as a freelancer, I loved it. I got to do events, and the pay was really good as a freelancer. So whenever I didn't have freelance work, obviously I worked my full-time job, and it definitely helped because sometimes I wasn't getting contracted but once or twice a month, so it really didn't pay the bills. So while I was working at my full-time garden job, I was called one day by my previous internship supervisor at PBS, and she told me that they wanted to offer me a full-time job with them. And so I was so excited, and I was like, yes, of course, this is like a dream, you know. And they called me in to meet with them so that they could you know, explain why they wanted to hire me, the position that I would be working for, the pay, all of that stuff. And so obviously I ended up signing with them. I ended up signing an offer letter, and they told me, okay, like, we're gonna give you 2 weeks to resign from your position, and you can start working with us. Meanwhile, we're gonna start your background check, start doing all that type of stuff. So I was like, okay, that works, you know. So within the next 2 weeks that followed, I, you know, let my employer know that, hey, I was offered a position here, you know, I want you to have enough time to contract somebody else, you know, hire somebody else to take my position. And so they're really sad but happy for me that I was going to be working in my field. So within the next 2 weeks that followed, I came one weekend to visit my family, and they live around 3 hours away north of Miami. So I was living in Miami at, you know, obviously I was still in school, everything was still like normal until coronavirus came and definitely changed everything. But I came to see them a week before the coronavirus really went alarming, I guess. And that weekend I actually got an email while I was up here visiting my family that the student housing was evicting all of the students from the apartments, so everybody needed to get their belongings and, you know, go elsewhere. So that week I ended up staying up here because classes were canceled. I wasn't going to be living there anymore, and they gave us the opportunity to go the following week and pick up everything. Meanwhile, I'm waiting to start at PBS. I don't know how that's going to happen, how that's going to work, you know, with coronavirus. They were still going through with paperwork for me, so I wasn't too alarmed. I was like, okay, I'm just going to continue to do my schoolwork, and eventually they'll call me and I'll move back to Miami, which I did have some roommates who were wanting to get an apartment together. So I was like, okay, that'll work out, like, financially. We'll be able to afford somewhere pretty decent. Because rent in Miami is very, very expensive. So definitely get roommates if you're gonna move there. But yeah, weeks passed and I still didn't hear anything from PBS, and so I contacted, you know, a few people, and they were like, paperwork's still going through. I was like, okay, like, you know, just to reassure myself. One day, one of the human resource ladies called me, and she said that my position had been cut, that they were no longer going to be giving new hires because of the coronavirus. So it definitely was very depressing, because I was like, dang, like, that sucks. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I didn't even apply to other jobs because I was, you know, all my eggs were in one basket. So I was kind of freaking out, but at the same time, I still had a couple more weeks until I finished school. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna concentrate on finishing school right now. That's the most important thing. Apply to jobs as I see fit. And so I had to let go of PBS, and it was really sad, but I know that everything happens for a reason. You know, God opens new doors and he closes the doors that we're not supposed to go through. So I definitely assured myself that, you know, he was going to carry me through. And so I ended up, you know, doing my virtual graduation, and then it was like, dude, like, what's gonna happen now? Like, what am I supposed to do? So I started applying for lots of jobs in Miami, in Georgia, in California, in Tampa, Orlando, you know, anywhere except, you know, around here, because there's nothing in my field around here. I ended up contacting professors and being like, hey, like, you know, if you know of any jobs, just please let me know, like, or can you lead me to a certain direction? And they were like, a lot of my professors who I do get along really good with were like, you know, right now the market's not really good for us. The production isn't allowed to be working in person. A lot of things were put on hold. A lot of jobs weren't hiring. They stopped hiring, just like PBS did. So I had to kind of like quarantine, you know, stay in quarantine just like everybody else, and stay still for a while. And, you know, I think that I definitely lived by the words like, be still, like, everything's gonna work out, everything's gonna be okay. And so I started applying, like I said, to several jobs, and then I one day came across this job that it was a studio tech position for Fox 4 Now, the news station in Fort Myers, Cape Coral area. And so I just applied for it because I was like, you know what, I've applied for so many jobs. What does it hurt to apply for another one that I'm probably not I'm gonna get an email that says, I don't freaking know, you're not it. And so I applied to them, and they ended up calling me back, and they were like, hey, we want to do a phone screening. And then they eventually were like, let's do a Zoom interview. We went through with the Zoom interview. It went really, really good. I actually got to speak with the production manager from their news station, so that would ultimately be like the boss, you know. And so they did offer me the position, and I'm so thankful to say that, you know, God has opened this new door, and I'm excited to definitely embark on this new journey. Actually going to be starting July 6th, and the work schedule is kind of crazy. The time, I'm going to be going in around 3 in the morning until 10 or 11 in the morning, and that's because I'm going to be working on the morning show broadcast. So that's going to be like the 6 a.m. news basically. So we have to be in studio. So I am going to be moving. I'm actually moving this weekend, and I'm so thankful to have a supportive family who's helping me through this, and I know that God is with me every step of the way. And although I'm very anxious and scared, to say the least, I know that everything is going to be just fine, and I'm definitely going to trust in him and make sure that he guides me on this path and directs my steps. So I hope that this video really helps somebody to know that, you know, it's okay if you lost that position that you really wanted, that it's definitely for a purpose, and that everything's gonna work out in the end. Yeah, that's what life has been like after college, and it's definitely been all over the place, but I'm so thankful to have a supportive family. And just know that if you're going through something similar to myself and you've experienced this, just know you're not alone, and definitely share your story because it might help somebody else. So thank you guys so much for watching, and of course don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.